mile of that bittul is that bittul links you up with Hashem. It's not just links you with the Rebbe. And that's what is brought down. That Moshe Rabbeinu is a mamuta. The Rebbe says it many times. That Moshe Rabbeinu is a mamuta hamachaber. He's a intermediary, but there are two types of intermediaries. Like an intermediary where he gives you over what the top said. He's just like an intermediary. But he has a word, who mitatzem, in what he hears, and then he gives you. Oh, but there's another mamuta, how do you call it, intermediary, what he just brings you up to the, he just makes the kesher between you and the higher party. You understand? That's called a mamuta hamachaber. There's a lot about that in the Sichos of the Rebbe. Plus in Chassidus also. So, and that's what Rashi, very, very unbelievable koyach of Rashi, why Rashi says that right here. We had a good question. It's a very basic thing. Rashi should have told me this way back, with over in Sefer Shmois, at least. Yeah, all the way over here, and say, by the Nadorium. It's a very basic Indian, but I get to the Nadorium. So it could be that, if you don't walk around making Nadorium, and I don't recommend you do it, but to a certain extent, you have a certain trace in yourself where your way is Nadorium. It's Seichon, it's reasoning, and, come on, take it easy, let's work this out, Yeah, which, it has a certain place. But the ultimate thing is Heta HaNidorim. And so they're Purim Boavia, they're moving around in the air, but they're very high. And then you meet up with Moshe Rabbeinu. The same thing with the whole Indian of the Moshiach campaign, the whole Indian, the Indian that the Rebbe stresses that our generation is the generation before Mashiach, the whole Indian is to bring down the Gula Shlema and the whole, you meet up with a guy that is into learning and he's how do you call it, a reasonable person, so he'll say to you, wait a minute, what's all, what's up school of slave, what's up reason. So you can only come to that and only get involved in that be'emes lamita if you're a sapcha. You have to go up into there. You have to go up a new way of looking at things altogether. And if you see things in a different way, then you see the world differently. You don't necessarily become bound to what all the Mevina Dova say, all the, the news and all the way. We are such victims of what the communication media present us, What do we really know, We hear it from, media. I suppose, the news in different ways. I mean, I certainly, where do I know what's going on? I hear through Pliny, and he heard it from the news, or whatever. The news is all worked out, particularly the BBC is well known. They are I don't want to use the wrong words here. The BBC is one of the big leading opinion makers in the whole world. And they are all worked out. They use all sorts of expressions that change a person's way of seeing things. They don't call the terrorists, they call them guerrillas. So, a person hears the word gorilla, and he says, he's a hero. He gets, just look at how they worked on you just with one word, They manipulate you. And that's the way it is. So Ishabcha is where you go out into another level altogether, you know, and you see it the Rebbe's way. And so you got to learn a lot of what the Rebbe says, all the Rebbeim, and especially the Rebbe tells us. And you got to learn a lot of Torah, because Torah looks at it the other way. Torah says to you, Zehador, you know. And Mamela, that even said causes you to see. Yeah? So, you may not see, mamish with the Einai, but you see, you know. And that's a different life, a different world, Be'ez Hashem. But we have to have the Poel Mamish, you know, we have to have the Guru Shleima. We have to have the Poel Mamish. And, you know, we have to have Yevola Hamovas Vaneta. There was a person passed away just a few days ago, and he was a big leader of the Mashchet group, you know, a very big, powerful person. And he was amazing, going to Shemayim. And I knew him well. But the main thing is that I'm already, you know, I belong to a certain, like, generation before these guys. I knew his father very well. Oh. I knew his father very well. And they once lived in Bnei Brak, the buildings, the huge buildings, with about 4 or 5 floors, is, you know, pretty usual. So I lived for 50 years in such a building, and I lived down at the bottom, and up the top, this family lived for a good couple of years. They were waiting apparently for some dira that they were waiting to build or something. And so they rented this apartment in the building. But I knew the father even before that. I knew the father from years ago. And unfortunately, this person had passed away. So I knew the father, and I knew the son. And he has Yiboru L'chaim Tovim. He has a brother, and the brother's a rov in a place called Omer. It's down near Beersheba. She's a very brilliant, but they're very gifted people. And he's mamisha. He's a walking computer. He's a rov, but he's mamisha pele. And they lived in our building, so I know them. But I knew the father when he was a younger man, not terribly long after the chasana. When I first came to Bnei Brak, I knew him. And they are from a very famous Siddish family in Lebov. They stem from big city. Anyway, Shem should help us that we hear only Besudas Tevis, Bepashtas. I told you the story about the Rav that you say Bepashtas. Yeah. Sponsor? Bepashtas. Simple. Shut. No messing around. And it should be Be'ez Hashem. Not only we want Moshiach now, but we have Moshiach now. Hey. Okay. Have a good day, gentlemen. Only reading to Akiva and was amazed. That's another one.
It's a great safe learning. They have for like.
There's an old saying in English.